Peace, power, hotep. This is your brother Maitreya Sek, and this is another episode of the War Report. And I am your gracious host, Black Power family. Today I want to go over an article that was written on, that was posted on Medium.com. It was written by a woman, Kolanda Mulamba. And this article really touched on some good points. It's entitled Kamala's Crimes Against Black People. 8 Reasons Why We Should Oppose Kamala Harris. And I'm going to tell you something. This article is on point. It's very accurate on the crimes that she committed against our people. And I'm going to not waste any more time, and I'm going to get right into this, because these are the people that you Democrats, Black Democrats, told us to vote for. These are the people that you vouch for. These are the people that you stomp for. These are the people that you attack us for, the Black people, the Black media, people who have other Black people's interests at heart. We've been attacked. We've been just disrespected and every other thing. So I am going to go, and it's not like this article is going to really make much of a difference. I think that people are so blinded by the propaganda that these people are selling, that I think that a lot of this is just going to go ignored. But let's go ahead and kick it off. These are 8 reasons why we should not support the Biden-Kamala administration. Okay, number 1, Kamala Harris was the top cop of California. The police function as a tool of imperialism put in place by the white ruling class to protect their economic, social, and political interests at African people's expenses. You understand what I'm saying? So they use the police as the enforcement arm of white supremacy to maintain their rule as a minority. So white people are used to ruling as a minority. And we are fighting diligently to end that imperialism. But let me keep going. The relationship the police have with African Black people is one of oppressor versus oppressed. It's their job to oppress, dominate, and imprison and kill us. So that's obvious. We can tell throughout all the years, 400, 500 years of oppression, 100 years of Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, all of these type of things, not being offered our land and 40 acres and a mule and all of that stuff that we were that we were supposed to receive. Not even to mention all of the countless treaties that was broken by some of the so-called Native Americans in this country as well. So, with this understanding, we must recognize that it's contradictory to support Kamala Harris, who has labeled herself as a top cop, and she did say that, of California. She functioned as a prosecutor from 1994 to 2011, where she significantly contributed to the 2.3 million people who were jailed and imprisoned in the U.S. And that goes back to that 3 strikes bill that our current president, Joe Biden, has written, which he used to label it Biden's law, although you don't hear him calling it that these days, do you? Okay, reason number 2 why Black people should not support Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Okay, reason number 2, Harris locked up African parents because of their children missing school. Okay, and there's one case in particular I remember of a woman who was homeless, a black woman, a sister. She was homeless and she was trying to make do with what she had. Her daughter missed a couple of days of school, and did they feel sympathy for that woman? No. Did they try to offer that woman any help? No. What did they do? They locked her up. Okay, so this is wrong and criminal on so many levels to treat a people this way. And we are the only people that are treated this way to this extent. And I don't care what anybody else says about that. Okay, so as San Francisco's district attorney, Harris also charged, criminalized, and imprisoned African parents because their children were truant, which meaning missing school, skipping school, meaning they regularly miss school, which I just said. Once she became Attorney General in 2011, she persuaded the state legislature to adopt harsher penalties for truancy. Under the new law, parents of a truant child could be fined $2,500 or more, or face 1 year in jail. At her Attorney General's inauguration, Harris stated, "If you fail in your responsibility to your kids, we are going to work to make sure you face the full force and consequences of that law." Definitely the black constituency in California paid that price if their kids miss school, because it's targeting us. Locking parents up, however, further feeds the problem of mass incarceration of Africans and other colonized people. It does not address the root cause of why students may miss out on school in the first place, like a woman being homeless and trying to do what she can to take care of herself and her child. So even being homeless is not a good enough excuse for your child to miss school, apparently, according to Kamala Harris and Jim Crow Joe Biden. Reason number 3 why black people should not support Kamala the Jezebel Harris. Okay, reason number 3. Kamala also locked up African people for weed. As a district attorney, over 8,000 people were arrested for marijuana in 7 years. Goddamn, that's a lot. How many white folks are arrested for marijuana? None, barely any, none. They get a slap on the wrist if anything. Where white people are migrating, they start legalizing it in that state. And get this, black people are still arrested for marijuana charges, even in states where it's supposedly legal. So, as district attorney, over 8,000 people were arrested for marijuana in 7 years. Almost 2,000 of those arrests were in prison. During an interview with the Breakfast Club in February 2019, Kamala laughed as she admitted to smoking weed herself while she was in college. Yeah, so she was smoking weed in college and listening to Tupac and NWA, Ice Cube, even though, when she was in college, these people, these rappers weren't even out at the time, so she's just a big liar. The imprisonment of our people for marijuana is even more upsetting when we think of the white companies that are now making millions from selling weed with our brothers and sisters, while our brothers and sisters rot in jail. You have a brother in California. He had a clothing store. He was regularly harassed. When we open a business, they comb through our businesses tooth and nail. They bring up all types of ordinances and everything. And meanwhile, you got your Chinese restaurants. They cooking God knows what back there in the kitchen. It's dirty, it's nasty, filthy. You got all types of stuff going on in the kitchen there. And they don't get any type of fines or anything at all, but they harass us in our businesses. So I think that's a sin and a shame that our brothers and sisters are being locked up for smoking marijuana, and they are making millions off of it. And trying to get a leg up in on the marijuana business is definitely difficult for us. Slowly but surely it's happening. We should get a percentage of all of that, because we're the ones who's promoting marijuana and make marijuana popular, made marijuana cool. That's black folks who did that with marijuana, and now they want to start legalizing it. But whatever. Reason number 4, why us black people should not support this Jim Crow Joe and Kamala administration. Reason number 4, Harris opposed reforming the 3 strikes law. This law that was written by Joe Biden. Uh, the vice president candidate has repeatedly supported the three strikes law, also known as the habitual offender law, and opposed reforming it. The three strikes law is when an individual is sentenced to life in prison after they are convicted of three crimes. So I guess it doesn't matter if it's a felony, misdemeanor, whatever. You commit three crimes, you get locked away for life. And that is one of the driving forces behind the more recent mass incarceration efforts. The law was adopted by California in 1994. By 2001, 50,000 people had been sentenced under the law, and about 12,000 prisoners were facing a minimum of 25 years in prison. Under this law, African American people are in prison at the rate 12 times higher than whites. I mean, that's obvious. There's two sets of laws. We all know that. There's a set for black people, and then there's a set of laws for white people. And then you got the other groups who act as a buffer class. It's hit or miss with them. They get harassed too, but nowhere near as much as black people do. African people make up of 7% of California's population, but a whopping 30% of California. I'm doing something! I'm busy right now. The law was adopted by California in 1994. By 2001, I'm getting. And African people make up of 7% of the population. What? What do you want? Go back upstairs. I'm doing something right now. I told you don't come down here. God damn, y'all hard headed. Shit. Excuse me. My apologies about that. Okay, again, African people make up of 7% of California's population, but a whopping 30% of California's overall prison population. We also make up 45% of third strikers serving life sentences. 45%, that's damn near half of the prison population are African Americans serving time for these three strike laws. This anti-African law was supported by Kamala. It left many black families devastated as husbands were separated from their wives and fathers separated from their children. This also provided cheap labor to be exploited by the capitalist prison industry. And they do capitalize off of their prisoners because they use them for cheap slave labor and things like that. Kamala Harris is guilty of that too. She had prisoners who was scheduled for release. What did she do? Did she release them? No, she kept them incarcerated to use them as cheap labor force to put out California wildfires. That is foul. That is foul. This woman is a foul heathen. She's a goddamn heathen. Reason number 6 why black people should not support Kamala administration and Biden administration. Kamala supports the death penalty. That's a hit or miss. Some motherfuckers need to be put to death. Rapists and murderers of innocent people and children and things like that. So I'm not completely opposed to the death penalty, but that's kind of a slippery slope, so I'm just going to leave that one alone for right now. But Kamala Harris supports the death penalty nevertheless. Kamala's support of the death penalty, which executed hundreds of innocent people, especially African Americans, further solidifies her support for the oppressive colonial state. The death penalty itself is a tool of colonial genocide used to control and contain the potentially insurgent African American population within the United States. Kamala also advocated for innocent African Americans on death row to be executed. Kevin Cooper is one such African American, as she pushed for his execution, even though Kevin had DNA evidence that proved his innocence in a 35-year-old murder case. She had the evidence, and she swept it under the rug and executed him anyway. That is evil. That is evil at its core to do something like that. And y'all want us to support these people? Give me a break. Give me a break. Y'all have to prove something to us. Y'all have to prove that you made the right decision by voting for these people, because so far they've promised us nothing, and they're not going to do nothing for us. But yet and still, we still went out there and voted for these people. I don't know why. You have to prove that you're not a gigantic moron for doing that. Okay? Number 7. Harris refused to prosecute police who murder African American people. Yes, that's right. She swept it under the rug. The uprising of black working class that followed the police murders of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and shows that we are fed up with the police killing our people. Kamala Harris isn't fed up. However, as she has repeatedly refused to prosecute police who murder black people, as California Attorney General, she refused to intervene in cases involving killings by the police in 2015. She opposed a bill requiring her to investigate police shootings. Her presence at a police brutality protest back in June is laughable when we consider that when she had the power to put killer cops behind bars, she did nothing. Just like Barack Obama did nothing when our people were being murdered at rapid numbers by white supremacists and vigilantes and police and things like that. How Barack Obama did nothing but maybe gave a little lip service. It's the same thing with Kamala Harris. She did not a damn thing. She swept it under the rug. Oscar Grant was murdered under her watch, and she refused to prosecute them as well, the police that murdered Oscar Grant. And last but not least, the number 8 reason why black people should not support the Biden and Kamala train. All right. Reason number 8. Kamala supported a law that forces schools to turn undocumented students over to ICE, separating them from their families. More than 100 immigrant youth in San Francisco were detained or deported because of a 2008 city policy implemented by former mayor and new governor Gavin Newsom and supported by Kamala Harris, who was the city's district attorney at the time. So, well, it appears now that she's all for supporting immigrants coming over across the border. You know, as we know now, Biden is set to accept about around 11 million immigrants from South America that are on their way up here right now to the United States. So they're going to greet them with open arms. So I'm not sure if she's a part of that philosophy anymore. Seems like she's supportive of it now, but nevertheless, I'm going to continue to read. Excuse me. Though San Francisco is a so-called sanctuary city, the policy required police to notify ICE about undocumented youth arrested for felonies, in some cases for minor crimes. The young people were handed over even before guilt or innocence was proven. Being detained by the police is traumatic enough for adults, and it damn sure is. But you can't break. You have to be strong. Yet alone children. In cases where the child was deported, this family separation is devastating for everyone involved. It must also be stated that this land belongs to the indigenous people. Yes, it does. That's right. The indigenous black people of America who still hold this country down today. We're here. This is our country. We ain't going nowhere. So all that go back to Africa talk. I love Africa. I'm all for Africa. You see my flag in the background. I am a Pan-Africanist, but at the same time, I do recognize my FBA family. I do claim FBA because at the end of the day, all our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, they go by their tribes first. They practice tribalism, and it's time that we start doing the same thing. So FBA is just our tribe. That's it. It doesn't mean that we're anti-Pan-African, even though Pan-Africanism has been a one-way street so far. I don't see any major Pan-African movements in Africa, especially the Africans here in this country. They come over to this country with the idea of undermining us and exploiting us whenever they can. So We should reject Kamala and Biden and their U.S. imperialism. Kamala Harris has committed countless crimes against African American people, yet some are pledging support to her because based solely on her being a black woman who needs protection. Stop right there. Is she really a black woman? Because what is that? Black is a state of mind to me. Okay? She didn't start even claiming black until she started running for president. She was always labeled as a South Asian person. She doesn't claim to be black. Her parents doesn't claim to be black. Yeah, some people say, well, her father claimed to be black maybe in 1974 one time or something. These people use the word black when it's convenient for them. That's it. They don't give a damn about no black people. Her father's family owned slaves. So, as we raise criticism of Kamala Harris, we must also oppose U.S. imperialism entirely because the U.S. is an illegitimate settler colony, thus rendering any U.S. presidency and vice presidency illegitimate. The U.S., its government and laws were all built on the genocide of indigenous black American people and enslavement of African American people, black American people, foundational black Americans, descendants of slaves, whatever you want to call them. As freedom-loving people, our struggle should be created organizations. Our struggle should be to create organizations to overturn this oppressive colonial system under which Africans and other colonized people have no power or self-determination, and replace it with socialism. Well, I like the term from Neely Fuller better. Our goal is to replace a system of white supremacy with a system of justice, also with a system of black economics. Or just build our own economics. We don't need to replace their economics with ours. We just need our own economic base system. So there you have it. Those are the 8 reasons why black African Americans, foundational black Americans, should not and will not support the racist, LGBT supporting, immigration supporting, maniacal lunatics that is the Biden and Kamala administration. We should not support them, and we will not support them. Not only that, but there's going to be some people, the smart, dumb black folks who thought that they were being clever by voting against something instead of voting for something. They're voting against Trump. But when you ask them, well, what are you voting for? Okay, we see what you're voting against. You're voting against Trump because you think he's a loudmouth and he's a overt racist. So you prefer undercover racism? You prefer the type of racisms that piss in your face and tell you it's raining? That's the kind of racism you want? That's a sign of weakness. I don't give a damn, like it or not. I prefer my racism raw, uncut, in my goddamn face. So at least I know where you stand. As a racist, as an American white racist, I know where you stand. I can respect that more than I can respect some slick talking northern super chill Chad Crow supporting racists like Joe Biden out of Scranton, Pennsylvania. All those northern racists. Pennsylvania is one of the most segregated and racist states that I've been to. Okay, and you cannot tell me that these people are liberal. And they'll claim that they're liberal, but they sure do support white supremacy. They may not like it overt. They may not like it just raw and uncut the way quote-unquote Republicans practice white supremacy. But it's still white supremacy overall. And I don't prefer one over the other, to be honest with you. And if you do, you a goddamn fool. You're a fool if you think that one version of racism is better than the other. All goddamn racism need to be subdued and brought to heel, like Hillary Clinton said. Okay? And all of you people who are pushing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on us, shaming us for not voting, shaming black Trump supporters and things like that, you are going to get ready to eat a lot of crow. And I hope you bought your plate and you did some seasoning, some salt and pepper. You're going to be eating a lot of goddamn crow. Because for the next 4 years, we are going to be relentless on your ass. We're not going to let you celebrate. We're not going to let you enjoy the fact that there's a quote-unquote black woman in office. We're not going to let you enjoy that at all. No, we're going to be on your ass. Like it or not, we're there. We're going to be on your ass. There's nothing that you can do about it. They're not going to do nothing for us. Joe Biden said from day one, he gathered all his House Negro constituency up, gathered them all together on a Zoom call, and basically told them, I'm not going to do shit for y'all. So shut up. Thanks for your vote. And now I'm done with you. And that's the name of the game for Democrats. It's been like that for over 100 years, longer than that. We support Democrats blindly. It's time to cut that. The civil rights generation and things like that, the older generation, they ran and supported Democrats blindly. Not this generation, we doing it a little different. If you don't have no tangibles for us, if you're not talking about cutting no check for reparations for slavery, if you're not talking about things that'll benefit the African American community first before any other immigrants, okay, we built this goddamn country. We're the ones who built this country. We built the White House. We built Washington, D.C. We designed it. It was forced labor. Yes, it was. But nevertheless, we built it. We built it. And we're not going nowhere. Okay? We're not going out no damn place. Okay? We will remain right here fighting white imperialism until the day we die. And we will destroy white imperialism. Oh, I guarantee you. Nobody is relentlessly fighting white supremacy like African Americans are. With that being said, family, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This has been the War Report. And remember, the revolution starts with you. Peace and power.